Welcome to the Glacially musical podcast that is beer, metal, and swearing, a ghost cult joint. Sorry, got a little coffee there. Omar, cut this. As always, I am Nick Cameron, the founder of Glacially Musical, joined by my good friend Keefy Keefy's runaway bride. He's not here today. We are trudging on without him as he's fallen ill. So, of course, I am joined by substitute co-host Don the Stoner Limestone. How we doing today, buddy?
Nick Boom Boom Camarello. Great to be here, my friend. And today, the part of Keefy will be played by Don Delafront.
That is going to be awful. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week for the meat of the episode, which is Metallica's Lulu. And we do, as you know, we have a greeting, beer check, vinyl check, shirt check, news check, and meat of the day, which again is Metallica and Lou Reed's Lulu. There's too many Lus in that statement, but we will get to that as time goes on. My beer check this week is a Four Hands Brewing Fountain Sody. This is a hazy session IPA. It's a stunning 4.5% ABV. I did the finger fudge pour in my Iron Maiden glass.
I have that, by the way.
Everybody has it. You're not special. What do you got?
All right. Tonight, I am raw dogging the Donling. I mean, come on. I had to have a cool name for it. Actually, it's the Yuengling traditional lager. So, anyway, it's cheap beer, y'all. And it was free. Cheers.
Cheers. Yuengling is delicious, and I drink it regularly.
I absolutely love it, man. It is great.
When I'm out and about, try to drink more lagers now, because I have been drinking way too many IPAs over the course of the past several years. And I used to be the kind of person that drank all kinds of beers, and now it's just IPAs. It's like, if it's not an 8% IPA, I want no part of it. And this does not taste as good as I remember. You may notice this very piss yellow color.
Yeah. It's like so let me ask you this, to the resident beer expert here, because obviously I am a connoisseur of all things that are not classy, except for my wife. But anyway, beer. All I know is lagers. Like, I've had a wheat beer, which is like Blue Moon, which I've enjoyed.
But technically, that's not a lager. What you're drinking, it's an amber.
Oh, so it's an so then they just have traditional lager on it.
Well, I mean, honestly,
are they lying?
There's two. Think of beer like taxidermy, right? Kings play cards on fat green stools, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay. Well, the kingdoms in beer, they've only got two: lager and ale.
Correct.
And
then what is mead?
Mead is not beer.
Okay.
What makes them different is where the hops go. I believe it's hops. It's like one of them on an ale you put it on top, on a lager you put it on the bottom. I could be mistaken about that. But then everything, it's all wacky around there. But there's many styles, and the biggest advice I can give to everybody is do not drink beer with your eyes. Guinness is not a strong beer. Guinness is not a thick beer. It is a session beer, which has as much booze as this thing that I'm drinking.
And why is it called a session beer, Nick?
Back in the day, there were three kinds of beers. There was the beer everybody drank. I forget what it's called now. Then they would have the bitters, the bitter. Mm-hmm. Then they would have the extra special bitter. And this was based on English pub culture. So you'd come home, and every pub had their own beer, so they had these three beers. If you were just going to be there, if you only had time to see your mates for 10, 20 minutes, you had an extra special bitters, and that son of a bitch was 8%.
Good God Almighty!
Oh,
that is.
And then if you,
I don't know how they do that. Seriously,
it's easy. I'm going to be having one in a minute. And
Jesus Christ,
superstar! And then if you had time for 2 rounds, you'd have a bitter, and that'd be about a 6% alcohol. But if you had all night, you drank the 4.5%.
So you could actually what's the rationing? Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, because it almost seems like it's backwards.
No, a session beer is made to have several in one session.
That makes sense. So then would Yingling be considered a session beer?
A session beer is anything under 5%. 5% or less. I
And
believe
this
Yuengling is 5.
it it is. Yes, it's 5%. So right on the cusp of being a session beer
It's a
then.
session beer because you're if you put back a 6-pack, you wouldn't feel too bad.
Right.
If you can drink a 6-pack of it, it's a session beer.
So you know what though? You don't get that like Milwaukee's best Budweiser / PBR hangover headache.
Oh God,
Like, what is it about those beers that does that?
they're just cheap.
It's just like, okay,
Yeah,
it's like
just
piss
cheap.
and water. That's what I thought.
Basically. Anyway,
This is this is why I love this show. I'm not only the guest, but I'm a client.
All right,
Or,
All right, Cy
something
Sperling.
like that. Look at my hair. Do you see this? Oh, speaking of, I got a haircut, dude. Look.
You look like a small Victorian boy with a beard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just-
Moving
just-
on to the
Just
vinyl
call me the
check.
Little Prince. Yes.
Le Petit Prince.
Le Petit Prince.
So my vinyl check this week. I got another twofer. I got a couple of records that I picked up at Frenchtown Antiques last week. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. Hopefully, I'm not doing this all night, and I apologize. Keefy's not here to yell at me. But I picked up Black Sabbath Sabotage, and it's not a great record. Previous podcast subject. It is an elder pressing of it. This is actually a Dutch pressing. So I'm going to bust out the label. If you take a look at the label there, I got it upside down. Take a look at the label. It is on NEMS, whatever NEMS is. So it is a repressing. I believe it's a 1980. Oh, it's on the sticky note. It's a 1980 Dutch import. So
I feel like NEMS was something I saw in a lot of import albums, especially like the Sabbath. I always associate that with Sabbath because I feel like I had a copy of Live at Last
interesting.
at one point that had NEMS or something on it like that.
Oh, so they were an extraordinarily conscientious label that didn't want to screw anybody over.
Yeah, yeah. So they gave us Sabotage and Live at Last.
Live at Last is it's one of the Arden records. So the band actually got no money from that.
That's one of the art. Yeah, yeah. Now was that It's because it's been so long since I had it. Was that the one that was like the bootleg of the '70 Paris show, or no? It was something different.
I don't know when it was from. I've never actually heard it. I keep meaning to buy it, but then I don't. The other record I got, this one I got at Dead Wax Records. Hang on, I just want to make sure I was... Yeah, okay. This one I got at Dead Wax Records. This is another Jimi Hendrix record. This is Live in the West. I have been told by many people this is quite a record. This is on Polydor Records. It is a gatefold for a single, which bothers me conceptually. So we open up the gatefold and we get to see a big old picture of Jam Master Hendrix doing his thing, right? Check out this track list, though. It's got Loverman, Johnny B. Good, Blue Suede Shoes, Red House, The Queen, Sgt. Pepper's, Little Wing, and Voodoo Child Slight Return. And they...
Holy shit.
Isn't that a good set list?
God, that's
This is-
incredible.
This
Like,
is from
is
several
it an
concerts.
official release?
Yeah, it's
You said
official.
It's on poly. Okay, okay.
You have to remember, the thing about Jimi Hendrix was he sold, like, Sue Records. The reason why they did Band the Gypsies in 1969-70 was because Sue Records, which was an African-American owned label, was suing Warner Brothers, saying, he signed with us years ago, so you owe us money. And the agreement they came to was Jimi Hendrix and the Band the Gypsies would do a live concert, and Sue Records would get all the proceeds.
Wow.
So, and then after he died, I don't know who owned him at that point, because it's the 70s. It's not like now when we're all worried about that kind of thing. But if you look, go to your local vinyl store, like a good one, and you will see, and I have checked probably 20 of them, because I keep buying them, because I'm a jackass. I keep buying these really weird Jimi Hendrix records that were from the 70s because it's got all of these different takes and stuff. And Experience Hendrix just kind of pisses me off. So I try to buy all the stuff that they don't want me to have.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my vinyl check.
That's super interesting. I do want to ask you about that though, because I meant to ask you this last time you talked about the Hendrix stuff. Is that it kind of reminded me in some ways of like almost kind of other legacy acts like the Doors or even the Grateful Dead, where like there's so much coming out that like just a fan, even if you're a diehard, you'd be hard pressed to know everything that came out, you know? And so like with stuff like this, how are you really getting much different variations of songs versus like the other two live albums?
When it comes to the live albums, I mean, Jimi Hendrix live was always an experience. It was always different. The Doors, I don't have that many live albums by the Doors. I have Live in Detroit, of course, which we discussed, and I've got Absolutely Live and Alive She Cried. Absolutely Live and Alive She Cried have different songs. Absolutely Live. So basically, it's 3 discs. It's. Did you ever hear The Doors in concert, which was released on CD in the mid '90s?
Yeah, was that the one that had the picture of Jim on the edge of a stage? It was like an outdoor festival.
But it was a silhouette of Jim. It was
okay.
red and black, and on that, those 2 albums were basically the creme de la creme of the live recordings, or so they thought. The recordings from the Live in Detroit made it onto those albums as well.
Okay.
I believe it's the Live in Detroit version of Light My Fire made it to Alive She Cried, which is also Alive She Cried and Absolutely Live, or what they put together as one to be its own thing.
Oh, okay. So because that was always something I was curious. So that's not a complete show, is what it is.
No, it's multiple shows.
Okay.
So like the first disc is Absolutely Live, and the second disc is Alive She Cried.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, in some cases, yes, you do get different things. In some cases, like with Jimmy, you know, you're always going to get some of the hate. You're always going to get Hey Joe and Red House. He loves those 2. I think he played those 2 songs in every show he ever did. At least I have them on every one that I have recorded. But then you get cool stuff like Sunshine of Your Love and Sgt. Pepper's. And I have a 3-disc Live in Maui, which was one of the very last shows he did. And I've got Live in Atlanta, where he did All Along the Watchtower. And
that's the one I'm familiar with, living in Atlanta. But yeah.
Right.
That tape was incredible, by the way.
I will keep buying the Jimi Hendrix live albums, and I will keep buying the goofy Jimi Hendrix albums. Like I've got the best of Jimi Hendrix, and it's got Wild Thing, of course, and it's got. But one of them I have has like a Rolling Stone. That was something he covered in concert in '67, but it was never put on an album. And his version of that, the version of it from Monterey, where also he played Wild Thing, of course, is just one of the greatest songs I've ever heard.
Now, he played Sgt. Pepper the day it was
like 2 days.
He opened a setup with it like very shortly after the album.
Yeah, like
was
the
released,
week
right?
of, and Paul McCartney was in the audience.
Yeah, and like lost his shit because he was just like, "Holy fuck!"
He's like, "How'd you do that? It just
like,
came out.
Hendrix,
How'd you do
bitch."
that?" Yeah, this is the same guy that reduced Eric Clapton to tears. So, do you have he reduced Clapton to tears simply by being Jimi Hendrix, and he was playing a right-handed guitar upside down.
Oh yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Well, we got vaccinated, so that would make Clapton cry.
Well, let's not talk
Anyway.
about that. Anyway, what you got?
Are you ready for this, Nick? Beast from the East.
You know what? I feel like we've been talking about this stupid record for so long.
Dude, I was so fucking psyched that I got. Not only did I get this for a really killer price, dude.
How much you get it for?
$17.
That's it?
So the dude that sold this to me was a college DJ, and he used to have like a hard rock / metal show. And he said he used to get so many records that sometimes he would just put them in the crate and he would actually never get to play them. And so this is actually a radio promo copy. the beautiful gold
I
seal.
want to
on
talk
it.
about that when you're done.
And dude, this record did not even have surface sound. Like it literally had like jacket dust on the record. And he was like, I swear to God, this thing has never been played. He said it looks a little rough on the cover because it was in a milk crate, basically. He was like, and I swear to God, dude, this is like one of the best live albums. It's so under talked about. It's just fantastic, and it's live, which is even
Like properly
like
live?
it's like, yeah, like properly like warts and all. I mean, like you can hear some times where Don's voice kind of fluttered, was kind of flat, whatever. Like, and I loved that. I loved the fact that it
I'm
was
gonna
real
jump
deal.
in real quick. Okay, so I wanted to talk about, because you had mentioned that's a radio promo. Now, to begin
Yeah.
with, you shouldn't brag about a vinyl record not having surface noise. That should be
Why?
your standard.
Well, what do
85,
you mean by?
there should be no noise. 85 to 90% of my records have no noise. Completely none.
Oh, but see, I love that.
I don't. That's wrong. Do you not love
No,
that? Do you
man.
not know? Now stop
It
talking
means
because
it's
I'm
been
stop.
loved.
No, it means it has been uncared for. It means it has been unloved and treated like crap.
That's true.
Treat your records with respect.
Like we do, you know?
You wash yourself, wash your records. Anyway, but it's a radio promo. Now I think about 50 radio promos.
Yeah, you said you had a lot.
There was a time where KC95, which is our local classic rock station, and they are now actually the oldest running rock station in the United States. They are not the oldest, but they're the longest running because the ones that are before them have whatever. But about 10 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, they decided, you know what, we need to get rid of all these damn records that we don't use anymore. So they went into their warehouse and they just put them on a truck and sent them to a record store. Music Record Shop on Washington Avenue, right by one of my favorite venues, Red Flag. Or at the time it was Foo Bar, now it's Red Flag. They moved down the street, new place, and renamed it. Anyway, so I got like Yngwie Malmsteen, I got Van Halen, I got all bunches of them. Genesis. I have a Cream record that was played on air.
That's incredible.
My copy of Cream Goodbye. It's so you can tell it's been played on air at a real station. I don't know about a college station because they're different. I don't know much about them. But a good friend of mine, Mike, is a DJ. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Friend of the show. So, and he gave me a copy of Roger Waters' Radio Chaos.
Great album, by the way.
It's an album on radio pressing. It's a radio promo as well. My copy of Blackjack is a radio promo. Interesting to note, Tori Amos's first record, Why Can't Tori Read, the glam metal band she was in with Matt Sorum, it is more valuable to find it not on promo than on promo.
Is that because it went out to so many
Because
stations versus stores?
yeah,
Okay.
it just wasn't purchased. So I mean, they didn't even get like cutouts or anything. So the
fucking
non-promo version is actually more valuable. But the belief is that because these records come off the top, they're the best sounding. I don't know if it's true. I can't speak to it, but I will say my radio promo copies sound really good, and I look for them because it goes back to the Japanese pressing belief. Now this isn't all of it, but one of the reasons why the Japanese pressing sounds so much better is because they're limited edition. Neil Young once said that a record sounds different every time you play it. Yeah, whatever, Neil, you're high. But
Fuck Neil.
to a point that's true, to a point it's not. It's not going to be super significantly different because, it's just not that big of a deal. But the presser will change. The actual machine, they squish the squisher, the plates. So the belief is because the promo copies are the ones off the top of the stack, they come out better.
And is that because they probably want the best possible sounding one to go?
I don't think anybody
radio.
thought about it back then.
No.
It just happened to be. Well, it's like, okay, these are the radio ones. These are the ones we're sending to magazines. These are the ones we're sending to stores. So I think it just kind of turned out that way. They just grabbed the ones off the top, boxed them up, sent them out. So
All right. So one more thing about this, because I was curious to ask you this and show it to you. So is that one of the things because I don't have anything that's like a newish album like this, that's a radio promo. Like I have like, older AC/DC albums and stuff. Some of them are radio promos, but this has like the hype stickers like stuck on the cover.
yeah, they still have hype stickers.
Yeah. I mean, no, I mean, like, was it? Because I mean, I remembered when I had this copy years ago that this was on the cellophane, not on the record.
Most likely,
directly.
what happened was the DJ took it off and put it on there.
Oh, okay. And then this also says pressed on high audiophile quality vinyl.
Yeah,
Is that like a
what year is that album from?
88?
88. See, in the mid 80s, when the cassette tape finally dethroned vinyl as the main medium, they started recycling vinyl instead of using virgin vinyl. So that kind of degraded, and they also had a lot of if you look at your David Lee Roth record, the one we both have,
Little Ain't Enough.
Little Ain't Enough, yes, that one. I can never remember the title of that one. I keep thinking Your Dirty Mouth, but that's the next one. And if you look at that record, you'll see it's really thin. And if you
is your cover really thin also?
Let me finish. And then if you pull it out of the slip cover and hold it, the slip cover will go limp. There's a lot of stuff like that in that time frame, especially because is yours a UK pressing or is yours an American pressing?
No, it's an American pressing.
Okay. The UK pressings of that time are, in my opinion, based on the ones I have, are especially notorious for that. They're just really super thin covers.
I thought it was a bootleg. That's what I mean. When I held that cover and I saw how flimsy it was.
If you buy it on the street, who cares if it's a bootleg?
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious. Yeah,
I mean, I paid $30 for Danzig 3. I paid $30 for Sawen Initium because they won't re-release them.
That's a good price for Danzig 3. How's it sound being a bootleg?
It sounds fine. I mean, it's not. Bootleg is the correct term. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay, good. I call them bootlegs. Yeah.
Because it's, the first time I ever heard the word bootleg was discussing bootleg cassette tapes that you could buy at homecomings and stuff. Saw it on MTV, and it was just, pirated copies of official records. And Reverend Run, he was really angry about it. He's like, they're selling my tape for $4, and it's not even my tape. You get Genesis on it. You don't even like Genesis. I'm like, bro, we all like Genesis.
We all like Genesis, dude. Pipe down, man.
I understand you're getting pissed, but come on, man. We all like Genesis.
You remember the bootleg sellers, like at the back of like Hit Parader?
Oh, yeah.
You could order like all the catalogs and shit. And it would be like basically just like the worst audio copies of like a live show, but it costs you $20.
Oh,
it's like 100
at Vintage Vinyl, one of the older record stores here, one of the elder statesmen. Back in the 90s, they used to have bootleg cassettes. I think they were manufacturing them in the back.
Did they keep them behind the counter?
Oh yeah, they were behind the counter in a glass case, and it said, these are unofficial live recordings. They are not meant in any way to replace the actual catalog of any artist listed. I remember the singer in my band told me he had a Nirvana one. And in it, you hear Kurt say, "Hey, you with the cassette recorder, I see you." And he felt bad because at that moment he realized he was buying it. But he still listened to the rest of it. And I remember there were Kiss ones and stuff like that. And I never ended up buying any. Because at that time I was so worshiping and nut swinging on the CD. And I think all of us Gen Xers went through that era in our life where it's like, because, the idea of the snappy, poppy, crispy record, it's ingrained in our heads because we didn't know how to do records.
Right.
And because we didn't know how to do records, we didn't know that you had to clean these stupid things. We didn't know you had to adjust the turntable to get it right.
Right.
Like, this is before I think we were talking. I bought in Chicago last year, I bought a copy of Are You Experienced? And I'm like, oh, this is a shitty pressing. It's just a really shitty pressing. And I listened to it again after I adjusted my turntable. No, it was not a shitty pressing. I just didn't have my turntable adjusted right. So as soon as I did that, it popped the vocals back up right, and it put it right in the right channels. I mean, there's so many little things. And yes, it is hard, it is difficult, and it is irritating. But I think it's the most rewarding way to listen to music. And that's why I stick to vinyl.
You have to commit to it, man. That's what I love.
Yeah,
it's like a ritual.
It is commitment to a bit. So like tomorrow, every day after we record, I have my remote day. I work remotely on Thursdays, and so my vinyl check will go into the up next pile tomorrow morning after I get back in, and then I go to my Discogs and I hit random, and pick the next 5 to 6, and then after that I pick out records that don't have outer condoms on them. So that's how I choose what to listen to on my long days.
See, I love that.
Wondering. If you don't mind, I think we can just go ahead and forego the news check.
Yeah, I have no news, actually, to be honest.
The only news I have is it's a quick one. I'll just throw it out there, even though I said what I said. Pophouse is collecting money in order to buy more catalogs. This is the company that bought Kiss's catalog.
Yeah.
So they've raised, I think it's like 1.2 billion euros, and they're going to start buying more catalogs.
So they're asking people for money so they can buy catalogs.
I don't know how they raised it. I don't know if it, I don't know. I don't care. It's just they're sticking with what they're doing. So my shirt check of the week is friend of the show, Cloud's Taste Satanic. Got this several months ago. If you're into Doom and you don't like people talking, Cloud's Taste Satanic is great. Especially if you want 22-minute songs on vinyl.
Dude, you're talking to the resident deadhead here, man. Dude, I love songs over 9 minutes long.
Oh yeah, just spark a doob and drop the needle, and you're going to be transported to a dream world of magic.
Dude, Grateful Dead, Skull and Roses live. One side that's it for the other one, and it's one of the most majestic things I've ever heard. But anyway, my shirt check today is straight out of my hometown of New Orleans. It's Marie LaVeaux's House of Voodoo, which actually used to be in one of her. It wasn't her actual home, but it was actually in one of the places on Bourbon Street that she did, not on Bourbon, Decatur Street, that she had like her little get-togethers at. And they have since moved into a smaller, a bigger place, and now it's nothing but a tourist trap, which is a total sin. But anyway, Marie LaVeaux's House of Voodoo, New Orleans, Louisiana. Love it.
It's a sin! It's a sin! What's that, boy? It's Ludwig van! It's a sin! Sorry.
Inconceivable.
That is not what I was doing, you son of a bitch.
I do not know if you know what that word means.
I do not believe that word means what you think it means. So let's talk about one of the weirdest things that's ever happened.
Yeah, let's do this.
I think we did to really set the stage on this. We need to go back into the 1990s, right? In the 1990s, Metallica releases Load and Reload, which hopefully everybody listening to this has also heard us discussing those records. And, there are some successes and some failures on those albums. But the biggest success on those records is James improves as a vocalist, James improves as a lyricist, and the entirety of the band starts being willing to discuss who they are as people. Whom they are, excuse me. Whom. And, this is when we learn that Kirk Hammett is only 5'7". We never really knew that. This is when we find out Jason Newsted is only 5'7". And I forget which documentary it was on VH1 or MTV, but Kirk talks about, as there's a time, this is when we finally came out of the mode of, excuse me, I am gassy and coffee, and I'm just awful today. I'm going to power through these minor maladies, these very small inconveniences.
Just look at it as a true live album.
Well, I mean,
no overdubs here, baby.
The editing is it's effort. I don't need that. Look, I mean, I like the idea of, my idea for a podcast is it's like radio. Radio's not perfect.
No.
It's not scripted. It's not rehearsed. It's, I don't even have an outline. I got some articles up that I'm going to reference. But anyway, so yes, it's live, warts and all. And so Metallica starts talking about their favorite albums and their favorite music. And one of the things we learn is that one of James Hetfield's favorite records is Stripers to Hell with the Devil. And then we learn
Absolutely.
that later on, he also loves Tom Waits and Kirk Hammett and loves Deep Purple and
the Cocteau Twins, remember?
No, I'll take your word for it. The Cocteau Twins suck ass. Anyway.
You love that band.
No, I don't.
No, he did. Kirk Hammett did.
That's fine. He can, as long as he keeps twiddling, I don't care what he listens to, as long as it sounds good in Metallica. So what we learned is just that, when you become a really famous rock star, when you're selling millions of albums, especially in a band like Metallica, where they are touring constantly, you just get really seriously, your development is arrested, and then all of a sudden they kind of like leapt forward and they brought all this stuff out. And then it wasn't just, we're these big scary metal guys. It was just, we're human beings, and Metallica is the creation of the four of us coming together with all of our influences and all of our loves. I don't know if we ever really found out at this time or found out later, but they loved Velvet Underground. And who doesn't love the Velvet Underground, quite honestly? I mean...
Me.
What? Talk about that.
I'm just kidding. Love the Velvet Underground.
The one thing I will say about the Velvet Underground is it's how, like, Lou Reed likes to be able to say things he shouldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say the words he says because we're going to get demonetized even though we're not monetized. But one day we'll be monetized and this will get monetized and then it'll get demonetized. And it's like too many timelines going on at once.
So it's like nonetized, basically.
Right. We'll just be we'll pre-cancel it. So Metallica releases Saint Anger. They release Garage Incorporated, which we're going to discuss next week on this show. And we start seeing this different picture of Metallica. And then they do Saint Anger, it comes and goes, and they do Death Magnetic, which I think is a truly amazing record. It needs to be heard on vinyl, not CD. And this isn't, that silly thing, but it's because they brick-walled it so much on digital. And you can't brick-wall vinyl. Just for the record. So, in 2009, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame decides that they're going to celebrate an anniversary. And somehow, Metallica ends up being Lou Reed's backing band live in 2009. Mm-hmm. This is when they are touring Death Magnetic. Again, phenomenal record. Future podcast subject. And they're like, wow, this is so great. We love you so much. We've loved you since we were so little and blah, 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 right? And, one of them says, oh, we should do a record together sometime. And they go, yeah, that's a good idea. So this is 2009. Lou Reed dies in 2013, just for the record. Just throwing out the era. So somebody sends an email in about a year and a half saying, if we better. Because, Lou Reed is not exactly what I would call a quality example of healthy living.
That's putting it lightly.
Yes, I know. I mean, Heron does a number. And that's why Ace Frehley has lived so long, because he never did the Heron.
Mm-hmm.
So they get together and they decide they're going to make a record. And if you think about that for a second, is so completely insane. Because if you think about Metallica in 1992, they are considered to, they're a scary thrash band, even if they had just come off the Black Album. But they're very much anti-drug, or so we thought. Outwardly, they're very much anti-drug. They are like the dude from the Saved by the Bell episode, the action hero that comes to do an anti-drug commercial with the kids at Bayside. Yeah, we're anti-drug for you, but little stripper salt.
We'll get back to you on that one.
Little Bolivian marching powder. Some hand truck fuel.
A little bit of the devil's dandruff.
Little disco dust.
Let's go.
Some schneef.
So, wow. Okay, so you definitely tapped me out of references to the white lady, you know. So
wait, is Betty White at the party?
Dude, you know she was. Is that what they call it now?
No, that's what they called it then. That's what Ace.
Betty White.
That's what Ace Frehley would say. Be like, because when they be on the phone, is Betty White at the party? Is Betty White gonna be there? You know who Betty White is. Betty White.
Hey Howie, is Betty White gonna be there?
So yeah, I know a lot of the yeah. Anywho, this is a 19-ounce can of Lagunitas, 6.5%. That fountain soda went down fast, and it's like got like ook in the bottom. I don't know.
That's why you're so gassy. You drank it too fast.
No, I did the right pour. No, shut up. So
unfortunately,
anyway, can I finish? Shut the fuck up, Don. Well, we haven't been cussing that much. Keefy makes us cuss.
We cuss because of Keefy, like because he gets. We cuss for Keefy, not for ourselves.
Apparently,
the poor guy's got at least 2 ulcers. One's named Don, and the other one's name is Nik.
I like to think they're named Boom and Boom.
Boom, boom. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Lars goes over to Lou's house, right? And I mean, sorry, I'm moving around here. Picture Lars hanging out with Lou Reed. I mean, is that not the most ludicrous thing you can picture in your brain? And yet somehow it's so right.
I'm trying to picture out who creeped out who the most. Like, was like Lars too intense for Lou, or was Lou
creeped
too intense
out whom?
Whom?
See, the problem is Lars likes hand truck fuel.
Oh, yes, he does.
And Lou likes the heron.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they were doing speedballs, I just don't think this really worked. I don't think they were sharing any drugs. This isn't like Aerosmith. So yeah. Lou basically goes, I got a box. A box, I'm sorry. What the fuck? Come on. And then like Lars freaks out, his hands shaking, and he's like, what? And basically Lou Reed shows him this box of demos. And it's like a giant box full of all these things. And Lars is like, wait, what? Yeah, here's all the songs I've been working on. Let's do an album of these. All right. So eventually it comes down, I don't know how it was decided, because again, there's a lot of songs here. And I don't know, I guess Lou remembered that he had done this. Lou had written a Broadway musical based off of 2 plays about a woman named Lulu.
I just read that earlier today. I never knew.
Yeah, think about this for a second. Lou Reed wrote a Broadway musical. I'm actually a little surprised it was never used.
I actually am too.
Not a lot surprised.
Yeah.
Just a little surprised. So, and these are, Lulu is a double album that conceptually is based on the 2 Lulu plays by the German playwright. I'm going to start saying that from now on. The German playwright Frank Wedekind. The majority of the composition is centered on spoken word and delivered by Reed. Now, I think that's an unfair statement. That's how Lou Reed sings.
Absolutely.
Lou Reed's vocals have not changed. He has 1 speed. Walking on the wild side.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not going to...
like that. It's kind of like that Dylan. It's like that kind of avant-garde beat poet talk singing, you know? Like it's not meant to carry a melody, it's meant to carry the words. So their voices are really just a vehicle for the lyrics.
It's meant to carry a vibe.
Yeah. Totally.
And that's all this, and that's what this whole record is. This record is a vibe. Now, it's no secret that this is my favorite Metallica record. And that's something that people really get surprised about. I actually tried to start a feud with Metal Sucks about this record on Twitter in like 2012.
I think we've all done that.
Because they always made fun of it. So I'm like tagging them. And eventually I got Axl Rosenberg to engage with me. And he read my article and he's like, "You're a dumbass. This record sucks," basically. And I'm like, oh. And then I thought, wait a minute, what did I expect was going to happen? He was going to read my amazing article and say, "Come write for us"? Yeah. That is exactly what I
change his mind.
That's right? Exactly what I expected. I mean, and the thing is what I didn't realize is that at that point in time, their hating on Lulu had become part of their shtick. That was just like us bringing up Foreigner all the time, which it has become part of the show. I
Zetro out, Duke's in.
Yeah, again, that's really in the chat. I mean, that's not really.
Yeah, we should bring that one to life, but yeah.
All righty. You know what? Lou Reed out, Zetro in.
Lou Reed out, Zetro in, Zetro out, Broadway singer in.
Oh, you know what? We didn't mention the one piece of Foreigner news. Oh my God.
We should. You know what? This should be a thing. We should just have one piece of Foreigner news.
I know. I want to be the foremost cursing, vinyl, swearing, beer podcast that features all the best Foreigner news. So Don mentioned last week that the kid from the neighborhood, whose name I don't care to know, who's been singing Lou Graham's words for the past 20 years of his life.
Kelly Hansen
is out. We don't know if he's out permanently or if he's out temporarily, but here's where it gets weird. Lou Graham is in.
Well, before he was in, though, it was this guy who is, what was it? He's in a Broadway production.
Yeah, but
of
shut up.
Foreigner songs.
Fuck that guy. That guy doesn't matter now because Lou MF Graham. Now, what do they need to do? What makes this bit of news so amazing and so wonderful is that they have taken Foreigner from full tribute band back to cash in with one legacy.
Mick Guitar Jones isn't even there.
No, I have not seen him in 3 Foreigner tours. I saw him once. He played the entire show.
Yeah, but you're seeing him here. Mick Guitar Jones, everybody. How y'all doing?
I play the guitar.
I play the guitar, but not on this tour. So be sure to go see Foreigner without me.
I get it. Because I still
Mick
get paid.
Guitar Jones out.
Come and see the bloody tour. Still get paid.
That's got to be the sweetest fucking gig ever, right?
No, the sweetest fucking gig is being the bass player for Queen. His name's John Deacon. He has not been in any part of the things they have done after Freddie. But you know what happens each month? His ASCAP earnings pop up.
That's the same thing with what's his face, Steve Perry.
Yeah, from them playing their songs on their songs on the road.
Like he has not stepped on stage with them since he stepped off stage with them. And
he did do a record about 5 years ago, though.
It was fantastic.
I don't like Steve Perry, so I didn't listen. I did have it in my hands at Joe's Records STL recently. Anyway, so back to the meat of the I don't have a word. Back to the thing. Back to the beach, y'all.
Yes. So
Metallica writes all the music to this record. Oh, I'm sorry, backing up. I got ahead of myself because I got behind myself. I'm circling myself and I'm going in for the kill on myself, and I'm likely going to be stabbing myself in the back or the. And dick.
I'm beside myself.
I'm beside and below myself. I'm just. Watch out.
If I could do that, I'd never leave the house.
So. This is legitimately my favorite Metallica record because my favorite Metallica is up until around this time would have been up until James got sober, I guess, was live Metallica. Seattle 89, the Black Album tour. What I loved about those is when Metallica goes into the studio, they are so dead set on machine precision. There's not a beat off. There's not an echo. It's just abject perfection. But I like Metallica better when they're those kids from the garage.
When did that end for you?
When did they stop
for me,
being
it was
that?
Injustice.
They stopped being the kids from the garage at Master of Puppets.
Yeah.
Once they got a real producer, I guess probably really even Ride the Lightning. Once they got a legitimate engineer and producer and had some money to work on their records, they wanted it to be perfect. That's what they wanted. That's what they got. But the live shows, James would always have horrible stage fright, and that's how alcohol became a crutch for him. And I'm not making light of his situation. I believe all of them have stopped drinking at this point. Maybe Trujillo still drinks, but I think even Kurt got sober. And Lars is a crazy vegan workout guy now, so he can keep up with the shows. But when they were like that, it was just the kids having fun. And the fact that they could get that rip-roaring weird and, still be able to play a Metallica set is kind of amazing. And then if you look at the covers records, if you look at Garage Days Revisited, one of them burps on a track. And if you listen to Garage, and then Lars, you fuck up! I think it's James that was burping. And then there's a bootleg I had where James and Lars are drunk and somebody's recording this and James is playing his guitar without it even being plugged in and he's trying to get Lars to guess the song. What? And it's just like 90 seconds of that. Of like hearing tink, plink, 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 plink. I don't know what that is. Let me try again. Yeah, and then if you listen to Garage Days Revisited, I mean, half of the time they got like there's beeps and clicks and buzzes, and it's like, what the hell did that even come from? And the songs are loose, the playing is loose, and I love loose Metallica. So, Garage Days Revisited was 5 songs, 25 minutes long, recorded in 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, 6 days. 6 days.
It was beautiful.
Lulu is 9 songs. Is it 9? I believe it's 9. 10, I apologize. 10 songs, and it's 87 minutes long. And it was recorded in 10 days. So this is a true double record. The first record is 40 minutes. The second record is 48 minutes. Your average person does not have this on vinyl. Do you have this on vinyl, Don?
No, and I refused to even possess it until this challenge that you presented me with.
Now, do you want to see it on vinyl?
Yes, please. Oh, look, it's my ex.
I have a legitimate copy of Lulu on vinyl. This album comes out in 2011. As we all know, I got my copy in about 2017. It does have a bend right there. Back cover. This record came in the mylar. So each Metallica, say what you want about them, but their packaging of vinyl records has been second to none since they started really doing it. It does come with something the CD version did not have. It has a lyric sheet.
Poster. Oh.
There's a full lyric sheet. I've never actually read them because I don't want to know any more than I already do. Now, how much would you guess? Now, okay, let me back up. How many pressings of this do you think happened on vinyl?
Of Lulu?
Lulu.
I'm going to assume it's low.
It's very low, yes.
Is it like 10,000?
No. No. How many different versions were pressed onto vinyl?
Oh, I thought you meant how many
No,
were
not
pressed.
copies.
Okay,
not copies.
I see what you're saying. So how many variations of it?
Correct, because
Is it like 3?
Not even.
Really? Just 1?
Sorry, my computer. I didn't want to have the clickety clacks, so now I'm talking about the clickety clacks. There were 2 pressings of this on vinyl, just 2. There was an American pressing by Elektra Records, which I believe this was the last Elektra recording that Metallica did. So
it has it down as Vertigo and Warner Brothers, or is that part of Elektra?
Elektra's part of Warner Brothers.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So, but if you
and Vertigo would be the European,
right? And that's the version I have. I'm sorry. Wait, hang on that CD. I'm pulling this up on. Yep. I'm sorry. The 3 versions, but I think one of them's a test. Yeah, one of them's a test pressing. I don't count that. So I have the European version, and there's also the Warner Brothers. And if you pop that one up and look at the photos, you'll see. Oh no, it is Warner Brothers. I guess Elektra was enveloped in, and they lost the name.
Probably.
So apart from the name of the band, the labels are all the same. Now, how much would you care to guess this record would cost you on vinyl?
Which one? The European press?
Go European first.
Now, were there a lot actually pressed, like as far as like a pressing number, or was
no
it like,
idea?
No. Man, if I had to guess, I would almost assume that it's probably also, knowing Metallica, it's a lot of supply and demand also. I would say that, and I'm probably gonna be way low, but I'm gonna say $75.
Presently, the lowest priced one is $160.
I still won by Price is Right rules.
Yes, you did. Now, how much?
$1.
Hang on, but let's see. Median is $182. So you didn't really win because you weren't competing with anyone.
I'm always competing with myself, Nick. You know this.
Well, you know what? That sounds like a you. That doesn't sound like that sounds like an issue, not an ish me.
You talk to me every day, Nick. It's an issue.
That's fair. So yeah, there's one for $156 in Australia, and then after that it jumps up to $180. Now the American version, the Warner Brothers version, would you care to guess how much that one costs?
So I feel like American copies usually are less expensive than Euro copies, but
do you think that then?
I'm gonna say it's $225. Actually, now that I think about it.
The lowest is $210, the highest is $240. Median price is the same at $185. Okay. But think about that for a second. These are the only copies of this damn thing. This thing costs more than Kill 'Em All original pressings.
What is the Kill 'Em All? What is the Megaforce pressing going for? Because we talked about mine last time.
Yeah, because I have a second pressing. I believe they're about 120.
Yeah, that's about what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, 120 is the lowest price. Median's 150.
All right, so educate me this. Why is it so valuable? Is it?
There aren't that many. There's only 2 pressings. Everything Metallica's ever done. Oh no, it was on Warner. I'm sorry, it was on Warner Brothers because of Lou.
Oh, it was like that kind of. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense
So it's on Warner because of Lou, and that's probably why it's never been repressed on vinyl. Because Warner Brothers doesn't care, and Metallica doesn't care enough to buy it.
And Lou was dead.
Right. Although Lars did say to his widow after he died.
Did Lars try to swoop in?
No, he tried to console her with, "Don't worry, I know a lot of people yelled at him about Lulu, but in 20 years they're all going to say it's his best work." And I'm like, that's how you console a grieving widow.
The best work he ever did was with us, which I don't believe.
Like, we made him great. We made him great. And everyone will see how great he was. Like, bitch.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, bitch, I think everybody thinks Lou Reed was great. I don't, what the hell? I mean, how do you even go there? How is that what you say to a grieving widow?
Dude, Rock and Roll Animal is like one of the fucking pinnacle. That's such a great.
It is not.
Unloved live album. Oh, it totally is.
You're on
That's
the
a great
pot.
album. That's the one with
Yeah, I know what it is.
Alice
I
Cooper
have
band,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had like
You're
what's
eating
his
too many. You're
face?
eating too many sugar cereals right there, my friend.
Nah. Oh yeah, maybe. Okay.
No, that album is terrible. It's got a heroin on it. I can't find it. I listened to the record 10 times. I can't find out when he starts singing heroin.
Is it listed on there? Because I
It's
don't
on there.
remember.
Yeah,
Huh.
exactly. It's on
Okay,
there,
that
and
says a lot. That says a lot. Yeah.
that's my
Yeah.
favorite Velvet Underground song.
You should hear the Mazzy Star version of that
Not
one.
that they
It's
have all that
fantastic.
many songs, really.
Oh, they did. Not at all.
They were like they were the NWA of the indie rock scene. We came,
Yeah.
we saw, we broke up.
It's like you swear that there was like 12 Velvet Underground albums.
What is it, like one and a half?
It's
I
like,
mean, it's
yeah, I was gonna say it's like two, I think, or something like that, maybe.
yeah. It's again. We came, we saw, we broke up.
And then died.
Yeah. So anyway, so they decide Metallica's going to write the music. Think about that for a second. Lars goes through all of Lou's work and goes, I like this idea, but your music sucks. Okay, then. So Metallica goes in and writes all the music. Now, do they actually really write anything? I don't know. I don't know if they actually wrote or if they improvised, but what I love about this is they weren't perfectionists. I think part of it was they were so in awe of being with a legend. Like, I don't know if you're Metallica or if you're Dave Mustaine or even Paul McCartney or whatever. You know, I don't know if you ever see yourself as the legend you are. You know, we all have imposter syndrome. For those of us that don't suck and that aren't imposters. So do James and Lars just look at Lou Reed and go, "Holy shit, that's Lou Reed"? You know, I mean,
And then does Lou Reed in turn say,
who are these chuckle fucks?
Right. You know? It's amazing how much we did see that. And I've noticed that it seems like sometimes some of the bigger artists are the ones that have the worst cases of imposter syndrome.
Right, and I could totally see them going, how do we even broach this topic? How do we broach this topic of us writing the music, you know? So they write this album together. And it's almost 90 minutes. It's a continuing in the vein of Metallica records being double albums. All of their albums from Justice till now have been double records at least. Garage Inc. was 3. That's not really fair to call it 3 because half of it was old stuff. Mm-hmm. But they have continued. So love what they have done or hate what they have done. At least they're putting out a bunch of content. And, I appreciate that. So let's talk about how this comes out. And the first single I remember is when this comes out. When this is leading in the run up to the release. I'm not a fan of Lou Reed. I'm not a fan of the Velvet Underground. To me, the Walk on the Wild Side is a Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch song.
Stop,
dude.
Stop.
I didn't know it. I had heard Heroin, but I didn't.
Beautiful song.
I know it is, but I didn't know it at the time. At the time, I had only ever heard Heroin from the Doors movie, and I didn't know what it was. So again, I'm not a fan of the Velvet Underground. It just missed me. So I didn't understand how significant this was, to be perfectly honest. But I'm like, I love Metallica. I'll probably buy it. I'll probably pre-order it on that River website that I'm not going to say their name. And then I heard Brandenburg Gate. And I hated that song. I'm like, what in the hell is this? This is terrible. And then I remember thinking back to things I saw Kirk Hammett say where he's like, this isn't a Metallica record. So just so you know, this is not a Metallica record. And it never really hit me that Metallica could do a non-Metallica record. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does. And it's funny. I think even just from the get-go, like it says a lot about both artists the fact that neither of their names appear on the cover. So it's almost like that to me.
That is
And
accurate. I had to actually grab the cover to make sure he was right. And if you look, it is correct.
It's nowhere to be seen. Yeah. Is it even on the spine, though?
It is on the spine. Officially, it is Lou Reed and Metallica.
And Metallica, correct. Yeah. But I felt like that was such a bold statement.
That is a very bold statement, and that never occurred to me. Thank you for that.
Now, you also had two very large egos that somehow managed to just look at each other and go, whatever we're doing is bigger than each.
Right.
Each
there were two very large egos, and Lou Reed was there.
I like what you did there.
Thank you.
But to actually go back to also what you were asking was that I felt like that going into it, exactly like you said, was it's not a Metallica record.
No, that's what Kirk said, and it didn't click when he said that to me. I felt like he was saying that to temper expectation, and that's probably what he was doing, saying, look, this, you think we have done different in the past. This is going to be very, very different. And it really is very different. Because again, this is the first studio record of original music they've written that doesn't have the perfection feel. Everything else was covers, stuff they would warm up to when they were drunk. This is new music with one of their genuine heroes. And they were able to get into the spirit of things, because I don't think anybody's ever thought about Lou Reed or Velvet Revolver as being technicians of music.
Velvet Underground.
Oh, damn it. On the Department of Metal Antiquities this week, when I meant Velvet Underground, I said Velvet Revolver. Or when I meant Velvet Revolver, I said Velvet Underground.
Velvet Underground? You just canceled yourself out, basically.
Yep. If you have your microphone really close, you can make really cool forehead sounds. Hopefully I sound good, because I feel like I'm sounding spectacular. Anyway.
Got kind of a sexy rasp going. I like it.
I'm doing my radio voice.
Well, yeah, we do have faces for radio.
So if anybody's listening to the radio and thinking, wow, if I could get a pretentious little fuckhole to pontificate about whatever, I'm right here. Right here. I will ditch these fuckers in a second.
Dude, I will filibuster your face off.
Oh, I'll filibuster. I'll fill 3 busters.
Who's Buster?
Who cares? Sushi glory hole.
Sushi.
So, where was I?
I know, we were talking about an album that wasn't really Metallica. And, without going too far into it, because I know we're going to talk about some of the songs and everything like that, but I was so doubtful about this. But as you know, I'm always up for the challenge, because I like to.
Well, yesterday you asked me, when we were discussing this, because we knew Keefy was very ill.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to, I hate to go dark. And, we've got substitute co-host Don, whom I don't see every week being here, but a lot of weeks. I know he's always
weeks as you want me.
I know he's always ready, and that's what I appreciate about you. That, and you bring the Coke. But
the nose candy.
Little booger sugar.
Oh, anyway, did somebody say booger sugar?
I think he looks more like a speedball guy to me. Anyway.
He looks like the fucking ghost of Christmas past. That's what he looks like.
After losing a fight. It's the ghost of Christmas past after being beaten up by the ghost of Christmas present. But he didn't mean to. He's just drunk and fat.
He beat himself up.
Yeah, that's what he does. So, where were we? Man, we're getting off track. We need Keefy here.
I know. See, this is what the Keefy we missed.
Oh, I remember. So, Don asks me yesterday, as we're, because me, Don, and Keefy have a group chat that's just, it's just, it's emotional support goodness. Half the time I'm drunk as shit. When I'm on, like at the end of the night, I'm just, anyway. So, where was I? So Don's like, hasn't listened to it yet. And when he sends this message, I'm like, oh, he heard Brandenburg Gate. He sends this message saying, Nick, do you really like this record? Because, I mean, you know how we discussed earlier, Metal Sucks dissing Lulu at that time became part of their shtick. Me praising Lulu has become part of our shtick. But, I mean, I really do love it. And I've never been shy about that. I really, really love this record. And I think it really helps if you listen to it on vinyl to begin with. Because you get the proper soundage. You don't get the digital compression and all that goofiness. And you get the feeling of the space. Because, you know, these are two old school artists that are recording in old school ways. And you get that really great sound. I think you lose that on CD, and you lose that on Spotify or YouTube or however you want to hear it. But I love this record unnaturally. So they record it. Brandenburg Gate is the single. It's widely panned. A friend of mine today said, I've never heard anything so divisive as the responses to Lulu. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It wasn't divisive. It was universally hated, except for like 5 dudes.
Yeah.
I know.
And then the people who hated it only hated it by association.
Right.
Like me. Like, I hated it because I was like, this can't be good.
Right. And that's exactly how I thought. And my hearing, I lost my rasp. Fuck. I gotta get back. All right, man.
Start coughing again.
All right. So the thing about this album was the Brandenburg Gate single in 2011 left such an impact on me that I didn't pre-order Hardwired to Self-Destruct, their next record, which was 5 years later. I ended up pre-ordering it eventually, but it really, I mean, that left an effect on me, and I love the album. So for people who hated it, like listened to it and genuinely hated it, I just can't imagine the irreparable damage it may have done to reputation for them. But like I said, I absolutely love this album. No one else does. I did. Do. Shut up. Omar, cut that. Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm overexcited by this.
You gotta say spoilers.
Spoilers.
Great. Everybody just turned it off. They just turned it off. We can just turn it off.
I hate this fucking thing. Omar, cut.
So I did this on the Department of Mental Antiquities with Duncan. Duncan loves Lou Reed and hates Metallica. He loved this record and bought it on CD. My good friend the pastor loves this record. Another friend of mine in Philadelphia, online friend, don't talk much, he loves this record. Everybody else I know hates it. You know, I will say we were lucky enough to get a handful of live performances in Europe only. I don't completely understand why it was only in Germany, but they played Dragon, The View, Junior Dad, Iced Honey, Mistress Dread. So they played like 2/3 of the record.
Now, was these like were they headline shows, or were they like
no?
It was
like a radio television interview thing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So you can see it on YouTube, and they did a really good job. And Lou does play rhythm guitar on the entire record.
Mm-hmm.
Well, kind of unnecessary when you have James there and Kirk there, but you know what, Lou, you do you. You do you. You're old, your hair's still black, so we're just going to let you do whatever you want to fucking do. And the drugs are in the back. Sorry.
It's still in his system from 68.
Dude, you could probably smoke his hair.
Oh, without a doubt, you know. I mean, you could freebase his sweat.
Oh, God. Oh, ew.
This is getting sexy, actually, but anyway,
very
carry
sexy.
on.
Let's just go ahead and lick his old man Nick. So, looking at this picture of him, Kirk, this is when he's looking probably his best post-Black Album. He's got his long hair again. He paid for that and some nice plugs. You've got Lars, who finally realized I'm going bald. Let me shave this head. James still thinks he's 25 and looks like a tool. And then you got, Trujillo, who's accepting his age. And then you got Lou, who's over all of it. He's just like, nope. Looks kind of like my grandfather with more hair.
But the funny thing is that Lou Reed has always just looked like Lou Reed. Like his style was like not having a style.
Well, he doesn't have one, so.
And people paid good money to have a no style.
And he didn't even need to do that. He just bought some heroin.
But that's all he did. Yeah, I mean.
Alrighty. We have beaten around the bush on this one, I think, quite a bit. I don't want to get into the story much unless you want to give an overview of it. Well, I can give a quick overview. This is basically a story about the very first femme fatale. She was a prostitute in Germany. Mm-hmm. In, damn it, what's the main city there?
Berlin?
Berlin, yeah. She was a prostitute in Berlin, and she was very, very much sex positive, very all the business, right? So, of course, the men of the time hated her because this is 1880s Germany. So, if you don't mind, we can go ahead and get into the track by track. Unless you got anything else you want to drop?
No, I'm excited to get to this, man.
All right, so track 1 is the only single, Brandenburg Gate. I said I'm not going to get into much lyrical business, right? But here's how tone deaf I think this project was in terms of getting people to accept it. It starts off with extraordinarily dissonant strumming of acoustic guitar. I presume that was Lou, because I just can't imagine that Kirk or James could get their fingers to go that stupid.
Lou is credited for acoustic guitar in the whole album, by the way.
Okay, so yeah. Again, I could never picture James or Kirk getting stupid fingers like that. I think Lars can play guitar better than that.
Probably.
And then the opening line is, I cut my legs and tits off when I think of Boris Karloff and Kinski. Okay, we have found a level of high that maybe we shouldn't have. But then the song goes into this amazing, like, power chord progression, and it gets heavy and rough, and James is singing only backups, and you know what? This song works, and it's awesome.
I think that can we also have to talk about, being a lyricist myself, it made me dream of Nosferatu trapped on the Isle of Dr. Moreau. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely? Like, fuck, man. Seriously, like, I'm a sucker for, like, lyrics that are, like, just, like, expressionistic, I guess is what you could say. But
I don't know how I would describe these lyrics. Days of the Future Past, I guess.
As tired of a description, I always think like avant-garde, like it's very.
I don't think that's avant-garde.
Poetry.
I don't think that's the right term. It's not that. It's something different. It's far more literal than avant-garde poetry.
You're right. It actually is, and it's not as ambiguous. It's like
exactly
very straightforward. But I have to say, like, from the get-go, I was like taken in, and then when it got heavy, my first thought was, I can't wait to hear the rest of this album. And not because it's a beautiful record, and not because
ugly.
it's like
ugly.
Oh, it's ugly. It's like totally.
It's ugly. It's profane. It's awful.
It actually almost at times kind of increased my anxiety.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I fucking love that. And I mean, to me, it's like the same vibe of King Crimson, like if it puts you on edge,
it's like,
that means it's
for
powerful.
For me, it's like watching a blues game that really matters. Where it's like, you get all the emotions. Because I've always said hockey is the greatest television show in the world. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm not one of those sports fans that's angry the day after a loss or whatever. Right. I remember the Blues lost in the third round of the playoffs, 1 game or 2 games away from the Stanley Cup final. And I went, oh, we made it to the third round. That was great. And but during the game, I'm like, I'm not, white knuckle tight motherfucker, and give me fuel. And that's what this album does to me.
That's what the first song did to me, because all I could do was, I was like, that was very beautifully ugly and like almost kind of anxious, anxiety ridden. I want to know what's going to come after this. And that to me was where the magic of this album
Yeah.
has. And
So
I know
let's
Keith's probably listening to this. He's going to go, fuck, Don.
now let's get into The View. Okay.
Yes.
You want to talk about some great, okay, again, great lyrics. It starts off with, I am a chorus of the voices that gather up the magnets set before me. I get chills on that. And the thing is I don't think anyone else could have delivered the lyrics on this album. The vocals are not strong. The vocals are very weak.
They always, again, I feel
But
like
they're weak in
yeah,
just the right way. It's
that's it.
strong enough to stand on its own, but weak enough that you're waiting for it to fall. And this song really, really, it leads in so well to the next. And I'll let you take this one over.
I think that this is where my interest started to really get picked at a higher level.
The word is peaked.
Peaked. Sorry. Anyway, see,
Like
what would
Pike.
I do without?
Pike's
What would I
Peak.
do without you? Anyway, it was, again, being the
Pornhub.
resident deadhead, and
What you would do without me is just Pornhub.
just Pornhub, man. Sorry, well, that's what I do with you. I mean, well, not with you, but
Canadian.
hey.
It's a Canadian company, so we can support it.
Word, I love it. Okay, back on track now. Okay, so anyway, fuck, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Okay. Is that when I was listening to this song, like my first thought was like, this is like, I didn't hear Metallica, which was awesome, because to me, like, this is what I think they wanted. They wanted for you to be able to listen to this album and not think this is Metallica making a subpar album with a washed up beatnik heroin shooting hippie or whatever, like this was like, when I was talking to Nik, he said it's art. And again, being such a huge deadhead and being a fan of things that are definitely of the counterculture.
A friend of mine once and many other times described punk rock as being not music.
No, absolutely. It's the anti-music.
It's a whole, no, it's not music. It's its own thing. It's its own art form. That's what this is.
Yeah, I could see that.
This is its own art form. This is performance art. I could see this in a San Francisco gallery with somebody screaming the poem over this music.
Like, why are they like rolling over
No,
like a white rug and
no,
paint?
just like tied up to a white wall, leaning forward, screaming it.
With a banana duct taped to their forehead.
We're not going to talk about the bananas. Let's move on into Pumping Blood. Now, when this song starts, this is where you get a lot of the really cool looseness. And this is where, in the recording, Lou yells to James to pick it up. And I'm like, one, bitch, why would you tell James to pick it up? Are you sure it's not you? And two, I'm amazed that it made the record. That means it was the best take. The one where James wasn't playing well enough for Lou. Anyway, this is the perfect building song. It starts slow. And then by the end of this, it's like Justice level thunder and quickness. And just great song for me.
I'm like you. I'm a sucker for intros. Like that, like the kind of fade in drone. That kind of reminds me of how Blackened kind of came in with that kind of
I love it when it's
in.
part of the song, not when it's its own thing.
Right, where it actually bleeds into the song, and it's like
Correct.
You're just fading into it. Like, to me, that set the tone for me. And I'll be honest, man, at this point, I was invested. I was like, okay, I can't stop here. Like even if it sucks from here, like I need to see this through, because I've gone 3 songs in, and now I've stopped thinking about it being Metallica. because at
Right.
this point in the song,
This is when it becomes a different band.
well, it
Even
becomes
though it's
Lulu.
even though it's playing Metallica,
Hmm.
it's not Metallica. So you've got to be able to separate A and B. They're still
Did you
playing
kind of
Metallica
get?
riffs.
Did you kind of get a vibe that it kind of reminded me of kind of like a Rollins band, kind of
Fuck Henry Rollins. Moving
like,
on to the next song, Mistress
oh
Dread.
fuck you, no. And what I'm getting at that though is that not music, but it was like the kind of spoken word over heavy riff,
Yeah,
but
I know
yet
what you mean. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's incredible.
it's
I
Lou
love
Reed
it.
over metal.
Yeah, which you're right is like it's not music.
And like this is the same guy that did Heavy Metal Machine Sounds.
Hmm.
Lou Reed, to call him a musician is probably inappropriate. He used
Yeah,
music. He used music to become Lou Reed.
he's an artist. I mean, to me, it's the
Right.
true definition of art. Yeah.
So moving on into Mistress Dread, another great song. Again, we are building up the mythology of this woman, building up this in this album builds to crescendo. And whew, chills. Sorry, I'm sorry. I fucking love this record. I just love it.
This song completely caught me off guard. Like, if you're listening to this shit on headphones for the first time, like this kind of fucked my brain. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it comes
And
out of
like,
nowhere.
I mean, with that kind of,
Power
I
and
don't,
anger.
yeah, and I don't know if I'm saying this too early into this, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it anyway. Is that like I feel like this was the most metal thing Metallica had
No.
done. Hold on, and I'm talking not musically. I'm talking that it kind of harkens back to that original, like we don't give a fuck kind
Okay,
of
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
mentality, which to me was always a very metal thing. Was that you creating it for the sake of creating it,
Right,
not
which
creating
is
it for the sake of people buying it or playing it on the radio, which is very much what Metallica was in at the time. And so to hear them playing like this to me was more akin to what I would
see. To me, this is them saying "fuck it all," fucking no regrets. We're gonna go. We're just gonna go. We're gonna riff. We're gonna do it. We're gonna be tables. Whatever. I don't know what song that's in. It's in one of the songs. But we move on.
It's in the first. No, it's in the second song, I think.
Okay, whatever. Then we move it into Ice Honey, which that's a weird one for me. I feel like that one was a dial back of the pressure. Instead of getting the male gaze on Lulu, we get Lulu's internal gaze. It's more of a rock song than it is a metal song, and it dials back the pressure in order. I'll go ahead.
I feel like this probably of all of them sounds more like a Velvet Underground song.
Yeah, completely. It's a rock song.
And then I also had a note made that it was kind of reminiscent to me of Heroes. It had that kind of melody. Heroes by David Bowie.
Oh, I don't know the name of.
But like this was the closest I think I could
I
hear
think
Metallica playing.
I think this is the ultimate Metallica influence on this record. What Metallica learned in Master of Puppets was how powerful dynamics are. By playing really slow, playing fast sounds super fast. By cheering up, it makes the anger even angrier. We go right on into Cheat on Me, which is just 11 minutes of personal self-flagellation and questioning all of one's life choices. And it's power. Pure power. Love this song.
This is the one that resonated with the inner deadhead in me, because there is something about songs, like long songs. You can either do them really terribly or you can do them really well, and there's no middle ground for long songs.
Absolutely, 100% correct. It's binary. It's right or wrong.
Oh yeah. It's either self-indulgently beautiful and intricate and like everything, or it's just like that song should have been 3 minutes. And I felt like this song was one of those. I had to break it up, to be
This
honest. Like I
song could
had
have
to
been
listen to it.
15 minutes for me.
See, that's what I'm saying. But I had to break it up because at first listen, like once I got like 5, 6 minutes in, I was like, okay, I got to stop for a second and try to figure out what I just heard to
Yeah,
carry on.
I don't
You
have to
know?
do that because I've listened to this so many times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Cheat on Me is the perfect ending to the first act of the saga because you have the dudes questioning everything. Is this worth it? Are we doing the right thing? Love it. So then we go on into disc 2, track 7, Frustration. And Frustration is obviously a perfect continuation of Cheat on Me because now this is Lou Reed trying to create an avant-garde imagist poem of how the antagonist felt in Cheat on Me, but he does not have the words in his talk box. So it's him just screaming frustration, basically, for about 9 minutes. And you know what? That sounds like it doesn't work. But Metallica is so good at interpreting his mood and playing it. And that's why this record works so well for me. Because Metallica have mastered their instruments. So
I also think that for this one, this is where Metallica not allowing themselves to be Metallica worked in their favor because they got to just completely hone in and concentrate on music and what was being kind of expected to
they
connect
played
with
what was
those
being
lyrics.
said.
Thank you. Yes. Like they didn't play what they thought they wanted to play. They didn't play what they thought people were going to want to hear.
Right. They
They
played what Lou was singing.
and the level of focus. And to
Complete.
be honest, for a band like Metallica, where they were at that point, again, at this point in Metallica's career, I was not a fan.
Still a fan.
But
Never stopped.
to listen to this, though, it's the most humbling sound, I think.
Now, you want to talk about humbling? Great segue. We get into Little Dog. And this is the antagonist and I mean, this is, 21st century vibes, but him just sitting outside in the rain, smoking a cigarette, trying to understand what just happened to him. And it's dissonant, it's cold, and you can feel that German rain as he begs to be forgiven and he begs to matter.
I just think that, like, this is where mood comes into play. And when
It's a drop off. Frustration ends heavy.
Oh my God.
And
Little
this
dog who
and this
can't
just
get
goes down to the floor. I don't even know if there's anybody but, for the most part, but Lou just plucking and singing, and it's 8 minutes of that, and again that should kill this record. And the mood is so perfect.
This is where it's like as cliche as it is, the whole like less is more concept,
Completely.
like it, because especially coming off the heels of all of this
But then what
intense,
do they
heavy.
do? What do they do after the less is more? They come back with Dragon.
It's all more.
Yeah, which is the best song on the record. And it is 11 minutes of just Lou trying to hold on to Metallica's bucking bronco. And it's uncomfortable. And this is some of the worst offensive lyrics in this whole album. I'm not going to get into them because it's Lou and he's old. He was old and he was like, a grandfather saying racist things. And there's racist things in here and I'm not going to say them. And violent things and sexually deviant things. And it's just like, And it's the sound of a nervous breakdown. It's the sound of a patriarchal nervous breakdown. and it's crushing and amazing. And if this was the only thing they did on this record, it'd be a 10. This record would be a 10 out of 10.
That's so funny that you said that, because my note for that was that this could have been its own 12-inch single. You know what I mean? Like it could have been a whole. This
could have been a whole side.
Yeah,
could have been a side. It's that good. It's that powerful. It's that much. And the lyrics, the Imagist lyrics get so. This is the one about the tea room, right? With your knives splayed.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me see.
Yeah, it's this one. I know it is.
Yeah. That's what this is. Yeah.
And it just gets so. I mean, what I love about Imagist poetry and Imagist anything is it. I always pictured that as kind of like a snapshot, like that. That's the photography of the written word.
Mm-hmm.
At 11 minutes, we shouldn't even have the word Imagist anywhere near it. But fuck. It paints a picture.
I feel like this is the kind of thing that my BFF James, if he heard this, he'd be like, "You're fucking insane, dude. I can't. I don't believe you. Like you're just doing this for the sake of talking about this on a podcast or whatever." And you guys know me as well as anybody in the short time we've been close. Is that I go into everything objectively. And this thing was like, I picked it apart. I tore it to shreds. I tried to make sense of it. And then that was when it started to hit me, especially this song, was that I was like, is this coming to an end? Are we back to the beginning? Do you know what I mean? Because there's so much ebb and flow to this album that it's hard to tell when it's actually going to end. And I loved that.
This is when the protagonists realize how terrible and fucked they are.
Oh, yeah.
And then we flip it to side 4, Junior Dad. Now, admittedly, typically when I listen to this album, I skip Junior Dad. This time I listened, paid close attention, and I finally heard the beauteousness of this song. And I don't know what Junior Dad is about, but I kind of picture it as after the events of Dragon. Over the course of 20 minutes, it's over the course of 20 minutes. It's an unaliving and ascension, where he's looking down as his life flashes before his eyes, and this song is so much more beautiful than I remembered, and it's 20 minutes long.
This is a great example of an album closer that when it almost feels like it's unresolved, even though it is resolved.
No, it is unresolved. Somewhat. It feels when you get to 5 minutes of this song, it feels the same. You have the same emotional response to it at 20.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that it's the one song on this album that is, at least for me, mood wise, was linear, but it was still like
it wasn't linear. It was a
20-minute
rendition of a 30-second moment.
Yeah, but in Deadhead speak, we call that linear.
Okay, quit smoking the pot, Don.
But it's an incredible way to close an album out, in the sense that
in an album,
when it
an
was
album
over,
like this.
Yeah.
That's so powerful, so forceful, so ugly, to end with a 20-minute heavenly buffet that rides you out and you walk away thinking, I'm no better than when I started.
By the time the song ended, like my first inclination was I had to go back and listen again, because to me it's kind of like when you've decided to watch one of those limited series episodes, you know what I mean, like or shows where it's like 5 or 6 episodes, but if you're watching it, you're binging it, but by the time you get to the last episode, you're like, I missed a lot of shit from the first one to this one. I feel this need to go back knowing that I've gotten through the overall
Yeah, it's like when you listen
shock of it.
It's like
you
when
know
you listen
that
to
I want to hear.
right. It's like you're at work, you're listening to a podcast, they're telling us a great story, and you miss one sentence. And in order to get that sentence, you go back 10 minutes to get that whole story again, so you don't lose the mood.
If it's
And
good, and that says that
right,
about this album.
and that's what this whole album is. This album is. It's almost like the entire story takes place in the memory of one of these men.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole story takes place concurrently to Junior Dad. And as he's, maybe not an unaliving necessarily, but it's somebody shuffling off this mortal coil. And as he's shuffling off this mortal coil, he remembers this episode in his life. And it's ugly and awful, and there's no being proud of it. And, I always wondered about stories, about movies, where maybe they don't resolve the ending. Maybe you have to decide for yourself what happened, and you have to analyze it and think about it. And I think that's what I just came to today. Junior Dad is the antagonist dying and reminisce and viewing his interactions with Lulu.
Now,
from those days.
That's a great example of what I was just talking about, in the sense that how you put that was not how I saw it. So now I want to go back and listen to it with that in my mind to see if that translates.
The fact that we can sit here and interpret artistically, theoretically, we can actually, apply literary theory to this, shows what a complex piece of work it is.
And that's the thing, is that not everything has to be The Wall or Dark Side. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, as far as like,
and this is not that
commercial accessibility,
yeah,
or like melodic beauty or whatever. But like, it's kind of like what you said, like with it being art, like some art is beautifully like
picture
obvious, and this is what it is. But then you can look at this other art, and if you look at it and you feel,
what's the name of that damn
moved.
movie with the guy, the barber, Johnny Depp? I want a bottom Carter.
Oh, is it Edward Scissorhands?
No, not Edward Scissorhands. The Broadway play that they did as a movie.
Oh fuck! I can't remember that one. Let me see.
I'm gonna have to look it up now.
I'll see if I can look it up.
Johnny Depp musical. Sweeney Todd.
Oh yeah, Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd is ugly and horrible and awful,
mm-hmm.
but it's still considered to be a classic, and that's what this record is. It's ugly, it's horrible, it's awful. It makes you feel ways you don't want to feel. It tells you how to feel, and you do it, and it makes you uncomfortable. And that's the most metal thing any record could do. Final thoughts. Let's wrap this up.
My final thought with this too is that, and I know we kind of joke about this a lot though, but like my love for Roger Waters is Dark Side of the Moon redo. The conclusion that we came to about this album puts that puzzle together about why I love that redo, if that makes sense. Because it's like I mean, like, I got it, I bought it, we're all Pink Floyd freaks.
Right.
I had to have it because I'm a Waters guy too. And then but the first time I listened to it was the same thing, was that I went into it because of hearing Roger say, this is not Floyd. It's not a Floyd interpretation. It's my interpretation of being close to 80 years old and how these songs now mean something completely different where I am at in life, in society, and in the world.
Right.
I couldn't really connect that, but hearing this album and hearing us kind of break it down and talk about it now makes more sense to me about why I love that album and why I love this album. Not because it's a shitty Metallica record or that it's a Lou Reed album. Like, this is something.
It makes you feel.
It's a joining of forces that did something so far out of each other's comfort zones that like you were only going to like this album if you were people like us who were like dorks willing to sit down, listen to an album, break it apart,
And put it back together, and then flip the record over and do it again.
yeah, and then talk
It's
about it for almost
it's
2 hours. You know what I mean? That's the
right.
thing. Is
It's a
that like
it's a strange album, and I'm hoping we can break down some of the opposition to this record because I've been trying for so long because I love this album. But Don, thank you for being here as always.
thank
Keefy,
you for having me.
Keefy, make sure you do this real good and timestamp the shit out of this bitch. And
We miss you, Keefy.
I hope you're feeling better. I hope actually I hope you're sleeping right now.
I hope he is too. He was pretty rough.
Yeah. Anyway, as everybody hears this, we are doing our thing. As we love you, as always, it has been the Glacially Musical Podcast. It does not play in Peoria, so fuck those guys.